Our Region's Business is sponsored by PNC for the Achiever in You. Welcome to Our Region's Business with your host, Bill Flanagan.
Well, today on Our Region's Business, connecting minority-owned businesses to new customers, a new initiative right here in our region. Plus, what's ahead in Harrisburg that may affect our region's economic climate, a view from the D side of the aisle. But first, a new leader takes the helm of PASSHE, the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education, which includes 14 universities across the Commonwealth, including Cal U, IUP, Slippery Rock, and Clarion right here in our region. Frank Brogran comes to Pennsylvania from Florida, where he served as chancellor of the State University System of Florida, and he joins us via satellite from Harrisburg. And welcome, good to have you here.
Thank you, Bill. It's great to be with you.
Well, you certainly picked a great time to move north, a rugged winter, and then a lot of attention these days on the system of higher education here in PA.
Yeah, it's a bit cold on two different fronts, Bill.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the issues that have presented themselves. I guess most recently, and what's been in the news this week, is this this proposal to potentially allow the individual schools to split off from the state system.
Yeah, there is about to be filed, as we're aware of it, a piece of legislation that would, as you mentioned, allow universities based on size, what we understand to be over 7,000 students from our state university system, and a university's ability over time to buy out the state assets of land and buildings and equipment that make up each of those institutions and create them then, therefore, as state-related universities in Pennsylvania. I oversee the 14 schools that are not state-related. They are called state-owned. You mentioned those areas, schools in western Pennsylvania. And so we're looking at this bill when we actually get to see it in terms of what it might mean to any schools that would fall into that category, and of course, very importantly, what it might impact by way of our universities that remain a part of the PASSHE system.
Well, and reading some of the initial reports about this, it does seem to be facing off as an East versus West kind of dynamic, where I guess the enrollment at the schools in the eastern part of the state has been growing. The enrollment here in the western part of the state is declining. I mean, what would be the implications for our region if this sort of idea, if it followed through?
Well, as we understand it, the way the bill is crafted, it uses a threshold of 7,000 students or more to qualify for the ability to move to a state-related status. And of course, for your viewers, since it is a quirky governance structure in Pennsylvania in some ways, there are 4 state-related schools. They're the obvious. They're Penn State and Pitt and Temple and Lincoln, and then the 14 state-owned schools. And what this would allow is a school to move from state-owned in our system to state-related based on purely size and, again, ability to pay for the assets, purchase the assets, if you will, from the state to become a state-related institution. The way it's crafted and the way it falls out, most of the universities in the western part of our state would fall underneath that 7,000 student enrollment cap. And I need to tell you here, Bill, I've been in higher ed for quite a while. I'm not exactly sure what the number of students in a school technically has to do with the quality of the institution and what it can provide. You name the schools in the western part of our state, most of whom are under 7,000, and most of whom provide a very high quality educational experience, undergraduate and graduate. So we're still a bit baffled as to what the number of students actually has to do with whether or not a school should remain in our system or move to a state-related status.
Well, what do you think the value is of having this system, this collective system of 14 schools? Why does that benefit everybody to have that structure?
Well, of course, most public universities around the country are part of an organized system of universities. For example, when you look at things like U.S. News and World Report annually, you will see that most of the schools identified as some of the finest schools in the public sector in the United States are affiliated with public university systems. It brings together an efficiency and effectiveness. It provides an opportunity to coordinate and cooperate together. And under the theory that when the tide of the system comes in, all boats in that system rise. This system was created 30 years ago through an act of the legislature, creating both the state-related institutions and our 14 universities in the Pennsylvania system of higher education. It works very well. We have 14 very fine universities. We're right now crafting the vision for those universities for the next 30 years. So actually, until we see the actual legislation, it's a little bit difficult to opine as to the impact it might have for those who could move and those who could stay. But at the end of the day, it raises a great many concerns as to what the impacts would be for either of those categories.
Sure, short of breaking up the system or opening the door to some schools to leave, do you have some ideas about what can be done to improve the, I guess, the enrollment as well as the financial performance of all the schools in the system?
Sure. Regardless of the status of this piece of legislation, the Board of Governors that oversees our 14 universities, our presidents, our local councils of trustees are working hard to identify the needs of each of our current 14 universities and, as I mentioned, develop a program array and a business model to support their contributions to our system and, as importantly, to the entire Commonwealth for the years going forward. 90% of our students are Pennsylvania students. Upon graduation, most of those students will stay here and make their way of life a part of the fabric of the Commonwealth. So that higher education experience has to be of high quality, and that's what we work to do in the PASSHE system every single day.
All right, Chancellor Frank Brogran, welcome to Pennsylvania. Good luck.
Thanks, Bill. I'm enjoying it. The people of Pennsylvania have been great.
All right, thanks so much. Next up, another view from Harrisburg, this one on the state budget and what it means for the economic climate here in our region. Stay with us.